It's been a hot minute since we had this camera up. Okay, here we are. Yo, how do I even start talking to this camera? It's so weird. Yo, sorry. Cheers. Such a nice day out. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Okay, so today I have a quick little video for you. Actually, I have a couple videos planned for today. It's content making day, okay? So, I have a couple videos here for you. This one was actually inspired. I was actually inspired last night to make these. I was walking around my house and believe it or not, these aren't the only shelves I have in my house. I have 3 more shelves over there with like a bunch of Legos and a bunch of books, like actual books, like literature. You know what I mean? So here I have my top 3 books by the author Neil Gaiman. So I have Stardust. I have The Graveyard Book, and then I have Neverwhere. I actually don't even know where to start talking about these books. They're so good. But I guess we'll start with Stardust. Okay, so here you have Stardust. Here you go. I'm gonna flip to a quick page just to show you why this book is so interesting to me, at least. So it's kind of like one of these books where it's not necessarily like a graphic novel. It has actual pages of words, but it's also embedded with like these beautiful pictures every so often, and sometimes it spans 2 pages. It's such an interesting book because of that, and I feel like that's really what captivated me the most about Stardust. I actually did not expect it to be in this format. I thought it was going to be like an actual novel, but I ordered it on Amazon like a long time ago, and it arrived like that, and it's pretty nice. So with that, this is a romance novel. It's a fairy tale about a young man named Tristan who travels to a magical realm in search of a fallen star. Hence why it's called Stardust. Or one of the reasons why it's called Stardust. Along the way, he meets various silly characters, like a talking tree. He also meets like a witch and a group of the ruthless princess. It's a charming story about an imaginative world. It explores themes of love, of course, destiny, and the powers of magic, in a way. I really enjoy this book. Let's see, it's by DC2. Anything else I would say about this? No, I think that's really it. That's really it. This one, I think, is my third favorite from his. Okay? Then that leaves us with the 2 that I think are tied for number 1. So I'll explain this in a second, okay? So the reason is they're kind of like very different books. Like this one's a lot more mature, and it's kind of like British, more British in a way. Like, I don't know if that's very descriptive or not, but this one is a YA book. So it's a young adult novel, which is a little bit more lighthearted, although this one has more themes of horror in it and supernatural, but it's not scary. It's more so... Okay, here, let me talk about this one. Okay, so The Graveyard Book. Here you go. I actually, believe it or not, I really want to teach this book. I feel like there's so much to teach in this book. It's beautiful. It's also one of those books too. It has pictures scattered throughout every so often, at the end of chapters, at the beginning of chapters, and I think it really gives you a sense of like, it adds to your imagination and your perception of what you think these characters might do or look like or act like, right? But here you go, Graveyard book, really, like I explained earlier, it's a young adult novel book. So it's about a boy named Nobody Owens, and at the very beginning of the book, his family gets murdered, pretty much, and it starts off with him as a baby, and he crawls his way out of the house and goes into this locked graveyard, and the guy that murdered his family comes in, trying to look for him, but the ghosts of the graveyard hide him. And then there's also this vampire, I forget his name, I think it's Silas, who kind of like acts like his mentor slash father figure slash best friend all in one. But again, the main idea of this book is this kid growing up through the ages in this graveyard, and with that comes like a lot of challenges and a lot of hurdles, but he sees the ghosts and he's able to have these conversations with ghosts, and the ghosts are the ones who teach him, who help him explore and find himself. I feel like this is really good. It's not what you expect it to be at all. Like, it actually has a lot of humor, a lot of adventure, but like every Neil Gaiman book, it also has elements of horror in it. But my favorite part really are the characters and kind of like how the world is really explored here. Wow. I've read this book like a bunch of times, and now I want to read it again. It starts off great. It starts off like this. If you can't read that, it says, Chapter 1, How Nobody Came to the Graveyard. There was a hand in the dark, and it held a knife. And at the beginning, I didn't even realize that nobody was his name. I thought they were like, oh, nobody, like nobody's here. But nobody is capitalized N, so it's a name. And the symbolism here, dude. Nobody. Okay. Next favorite from Neil Gaiman, is Neverwhere. I feel like this book is great, but it's more mature. It's definitely more mature. And it's not like explicit or anything. It's just like, I feel like the characters curse way too much, like way too much. It's kind of weird. Like, let me flip to a page and see if there's like a curse word here. I flipped to a page and there was not a curse word there. But take my word on it, okay? There's a lot of curses. All right, now it's another book like this. It also has plenty of pictures to kind of like start illustrating this world for you, because it's too much, okay? Like, in a good way. This is a hardcover, okay? It's fantastic. It's illustrated, and I don't even know how to describe this book. I really don't know how to describe the book. Like, I wrote myself a little note to tell you, that way I wouldn't spoil the book, because there is a magic in this book that is so hard to explain. And if I start trying to explain it, I feel like I'll spoil it. So I'll read what I wrote down. So in terms of Neverwhere, it's a story about a young man named Richard who falls through the cracks of reality into a hidden world called London Below. So he lives in London, but then underneath London, there's like a whole other world, right? And at the very beginning of the story, he's kind of like having troubles with his relationship, and then he finds this girl just like in the middle of the streets, like completely like distraught and everything, and he tries to help her out when no one else is trying to help her. And it so turns out that this girl's name is Dor, and she's on a mission to find out who killed her family. It's a very dark, in a sense, whimsical story. It does have elements that are adulty, so mature. But with that, I like to think that this is one of those stories that it's not about the destination, more so about the journey. So all the characters that they meet along the way, all the places that they go to along the way is so well captured and like well written that I had an experience reading this book because I read it for the first time like last year, and as I was searching up the book to order it online, I realized that there was a TV show of it. And I was like, okay, let me read the book, right? So I read the first chapter of the book, and then I went onto YouTube, typed it up, and there it was. Like literally the first episode was kind of like chapter 1, and it was so like one-to-one that it was so surreal reading something and then seeing it live acted. But that's okay, so I'm getting like super excited about this book, but it's not that what made it so special for me. It was just the fact that like it seemed real. Like it seemed like a real story. Like this could actually happen. It wasn't like, you know, like Harry Potter where it's like, okay, this is a world, like there's a castle and stuff like that. Like I guess some people could say that about this, but like it felt more grounded in a way. And I'm not relating this to Harry Potter, like it does not connect to Harry Potter at all, but it felt grounded. That's how I'll explain it. Okay, so this book, my top book from Neil Gaiman, if you're looking for something a little bit more mature, okay? Again, it does have curse words in it. The Graveyard Book, this is a YA book. It's appropriate. I don't remember hearing any curses in here at all. But again, it does have elements of horror in it. So if that kind of like scares you, keeps you up at night, then perhaps don't read it. And then I know many of you like romance books. Stardust is for you. I have a lot of friends who this is actually their first and favorite Neil Gaiman book, but it's not mine. It's not my cup of tea, you know. All right, with that, I'll see you next time. Bye.